This video will cover section 2.8, part 1, and this part 1 is on the operations of functions. And when we talk about operations, what we're talking about is adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing with functions. Now there are two ways you may see it written. You may see it written f plus g of x, and that simply means to do f of x plus g of x. Take the two functions and add them together. F minus g of x means to take f of x and subtract from it the function g of x. Now these two adding, subtracting are really simply combining like terms. Alright, then if you see fg of x, that means to say the function f of x times the function g of x. And then if you see f over g of x, that means to take the function f of x and divide it by the function g of x. Alright, and most of these things we've really already done. We just didn't call them functions. Alright, we were really just talking about polynomials and expressions. No real equations, really. Alright, so we're going to do a couple of these operations, and we're going to use the function f of x, which is 3x minus 4, and the function g of x, which is 2x squared minus 1, and complete the operation stated. Alright, number 1 says to take f and g and add them together, and then substitute in the value 0. So there are two ways you could work the problem out. I'm going to show you both ways, and then you decide which way you like better. Alright, so there are two ways, two methods. You decide which way is easiest for you, which way makes the most sense, and then use that method. Alright, so f plus g of 0 means to take the functions f and g and add them together. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is to take the function f and add to it the function g. So f is 3x minus 4, and I want to add to it the function g, which is 2x squared minus 1. Alright, and then to do that I simply combine like terms. So I'll have 2x squared plus 3x minus 5. Alright, this is just the function f plus g of x. What he wants to know is what is f plus g of 0. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is take 0 and I'm going to fill it in everywhere there's an x into this new function f plus g. Alright, and then 0 squared is 0 times 2 is 0, plus 3 times 0 is 0 minus 5, gives me a value of negative 5. Alright, that's the first way. So I'll just call this method 1. Alright, method 2, alright, if I wanted to find f plus g of 0, then what I'll do is find f of 0 first. So I'm going to take 0 and fill it into the function f. So everywhere that there's an x, I'm going to put 0 in the function f. Alright, and that'll give me 0 minus 4, which is negative 4. Alright, then what I want to do is find function g of 0. So I'm going to fill 0 in everywhere there's an x into the function g. And this will give me 0 minus 1, which is negative 1. Now what I want to do is take the two functions f and g and add them together. I'll get negative 4 plus negative 1, which is negative 5. Notice in either method I use, I get the same answer. So I can either add the two functions together and get a new function, substitute in the value, or I can substitute the value into each function, then add the resulting values together to get my final answer. So whichever method you like better, that's the method you should use. Alright, to find f minus g of 4, I'm going to find f of 4. Alright, so I fill in the value 4 into f, so 3 times 4 minus 4 will be 12 minus 4, which is 8. Then I'm going to find the value of the function g of 4. So everywhere there's an x, I'm going to put a 4 into the function g. 4 squared is 16, times 2 makes 32, minus 1 is 31. Alright, then to find f minus g of 4, I say f of 4 minus g of 4 gives me negative 23. Alright, and this one you could work the same way here by doing f minus g first. So if I did f minus g of x, I would have f of x minus the entire function g of x. So you have to be careful here because you're subtracting the entire function. You want to make sure you get your signs correct to make sure it leads to the correct answer. So sometimes this method right here, method number 2 that I showed you, may be a little easier than to do method 1. It just really depends on your preference. Alright, so here we'd have negative 2x squared plus 3x, and then minus a negative becomes plus 1. Minus 4 makes negative 3, so that would be minus 2x squared, and then minus negative 1 becomes plus 1. So that would be plus 1 and negative 4 make negative 3. And then I would come in here and fill in a 4 everywhere that there's an x. And that would give me negative 32 plus 12 minus 3. Alright, and that would be negative 35 plus 12 makes negative 23. Alright, same answer. Alright, if I want to find f of g of 2, I can use either method. First multiply the two together, then fill in a negative 2. Or I can fill in negative 2 into each function and multiply the resulting answers. So I'm going to fill in and then multiply the resulting answers. So I'm going to find f of negative 2. And that'll be 3 times negative 2 minus 4. It'll be negative 6 minus 4, which is negative 10. Then I'm going to find g of negative 2. So that'll be 2 times negative 2 squared minus 1. It'll be 2 times 4 minus 1. 8 minus 1, which is 7. Alright, so this is f of negative 2, and this is g of negative 2. But I want to know what is f times g of negative 2. So to do that, I take my value I got for f of 2, and I multiply it times my value of g of negative 2, and that leads me to negative 70. Alright, lastly, I want to divide f and g. Still, once again, you can write them out and get a new function and then fill in the value 3, or you can fill in the value 3 into f, the value 3 into g, and get your answer. So let's do f of 3. So I'm going to say 3 times 3 minus 4, so I'm filling in the value 3 everywhere there's an x in the function f. 3x minus 4, so that would be 9 minus 4 is 5. Do the same thing for the function g. Everywhere there's an x, I'm going to put a 3. So that would be 2 times 9, be 18 minus 1 is 17. Alright, then to find f of g of 3, I divide f of 3 by g of 3 to get 5/17.